Night settles softly over the Nile Valley, warm air drifting across the darkened water, as if the river itself is exhaling after a long, ancient day. The palms sway gently, their fronds whispering secrets older than any kingdom you've ever known. A thin ribbon of moonlight glints on the distant horizon, and somewhere beyond the bend of the river, a torch flickers inside a stone chamber. You step closer. The stones hum with heat even at night, and there is a smell here. Frankincense mixed with dust, lotus mixed with warm desert wind. A soft breath of sand curls across your feet, guiding you deeper, almost as though the darkness itself wants to show you something. This is Egypt long before the world imagined time as we do. This is a civilization that refused to accept endings, a place where death was not a wall but a door, and the pharaohs spent their entire lives learning how to unlock it. Hello everyone, welcome to another late night stroll through the stranger corners of history. If you found your way here, it's probably because your mind refuses to sleep. So let's give it something quietly absurd to chew on. Before we dive too deeply, a gentle nudge. If you enjoy stories that let you relax and learn at the same time, consider liking this video and subscribing to History at Bedtime. Also, feel free to leave a comment sharing your location and local time. We like to see history travel the globe alongside our viewers. Now, let's ease into tonight's journey. A warm breeze carries a faint trail of incense. The desert stretches endlessly before you, a pale silver sheet beneath the stars. And ahead of you, looming, silent, eternal, rises a structure so vast it rearranges your sense of scale. The Great Pyramid. Each stone weighs as much as a car. Each block was placed by hand more than 4,500 years ago, and yet, as you stand beneath it, it feels less like a monument and more like a sleeping giant. The Egyptians did not build pyramids for grandeur. They built them because they believed the pharaoh was not just a man, but a living piece of the cosmos, part human, part divine, destined to rise after death and join the circle of the gods. And stone, in their minds, could preserve a soul the way a seed preserves a tree. The air grows cooler as you approach the entrance. A narrow passage cuts into the limestone, tilting downward like a tunnel into the earth's own memory. Inside, your footsteps echo faintly along smooth walls. The deeper you go, the more the night quiets, until it seems even your breath is being absorbed by the weight of eternity, pressing gently, almost tenderly, around you. You run your fingers along the stone. It's strangely warm, as though holding onto light from the day. These walls have held the dreams of kings, their fears, their plans, their desperate, brilliant schemes to outwit death itself. The Egyptians didn't dream of immortality the way later cultures did. They engineered it. Every chamber you pass is a mechanism. Every inscription, a spell. Every ritual, a calculation in the grand equation of eternity. One false move, one missing object, one forgotten prayer, and the pharaoh's soul might wander forever, hungry and lost. Shadows ripple along the corridor as you move deeper beneath the desert. The world above seems impossibly far away, The silence grows thicker, and you begin to understand something that every ancient Egyptian felt in their bones. The afterlife wasn't merely a hope. It was a destination, a journey filled with danger, judgment, and transformation, one that even kings feared. Somewhere ahead, a torch flickers, and the night opens into the first chamber of forever. The room breathes with warmth, lit by a single bowl of oil, whose flame dances like a heartbeat. The walls shimmer with gold-painted reliefs, each one carved with deliberate care. Scenes of gods guiding the pharaoh through the underworld, scenes of battles fought in shadowy realms, scenes of rebirth. Everything here radiates intention. Nothing is accidental. You step forward, and the light catches the gentle curve of hieroglyphs. They glow softly, a script that is both language and magic, a bridge between the mortal and the eternal. The Egyptians believed writing itself had power. To carve a name was to preserve a soul. To erase a name was to destroy it. A simple chisel stroke could rewrite eternity. Two historical truths quietly linger behind these walls. First, that Egyptian tombs were not built after a king died. They began at the start of his reign, for eternity required time. Second, that the Book of the Dead, these very spells and instructions, was not a single book at all, but a collection of evolving texts spanning centuries, customized for each soul who needed them. The chamber hums faintly, as though the stories carved into its walls remember being read aloud thousands of years ago. You notice something nestled in a small alcove, a wooden figurine darkened with age, a shabti, a servant for the afterlife. Egyptians believed these small figures would come alive in the next world, performing labor on behalf of their owner so the soul could rest. Some pharaohs were buried with hundreds, an eternal workforce ready to harvest fields of light. The flame flickers higher, revealing painted stars across the ceiling. Egyptians loved stars. They believed the pharaoh's spirit would sail among them, joining Osiris in the field of reeds, a perfect mirror of Egypt itself, full of green fields, warm breezes, and gentle water. You walk deeper into the pyramid, following a corridor that slopes upward now, leading toward the burial chamber. The air grows warmer, almost humid, and the scent of resin thickens. In the late New Kingdom, embalmers used cedar oil and natron to slow decay. The process took 70 days, one for each transformation of the soul. Even now, the faint aroma lingers in stone that has known more silence than the world outside has known life. Your torchlight catches a series of carved feathers, symbols of Ma, at the goddess of truth and cosmic balance. Her feather would one day decide the pharaoh's fate. In the hall of judgment, the heart of the king would be weighed against this single feather. A heart heavy with wrongdoing would doom its owner to annihilation by Ammit, the devourer, a creature part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus. A heart pure and light would grant safe passage into the afterlife. The Egyptians feared a second death, the death of the soul, far more than the first. Ahead, the corridor divides. One path leads upward toward the king's chamber. The other slopes downward into darkness, a symbolic journey into the underworld. You pause, feeling the ancient air wrap around you like a warm shroud. The soft glow of the torch flickers along the walls, and for a moment you feel the weight of those who walked here before, architects, priests, sons burying fathers, workers carving destiny into limestone grain by grain. Historians still debate whether the Great Pyramids were truly tombs, astronomical markers, or grand metaphors of rebirth. Yet standing here, you sense that perhaps they were all three: machines of memory, engines of eternity, monuments designed to teach the living how to face the infinite. You take one more step. The stone beneath your feet vibrates faintly. The night deepens around you, and somewhere within the pyramid, eternity begins to stir. The air grows cooler as you continue, and the narrow passage forces you to bow your head. Ancient Egyptians believed corridors like this mimicked the tunnels of the underworld, long, silent, filled with tests that had nothing to do with strength and everything to do with memory. A pharaoh was expected to recall the names of gods, the spells of protection, the secret titles of serpents guarding the gates of night. Forgetfulness was dangerous. Knowledge was a shield. And here, in this sloping tunnel, lit by your small flame, you begin to understand why the afterlife required more preparation than life itself. Your torch brushes the ceiling, revealing constellations painted in deep lapis blue. These stars are not decorative. They are maps. The Egyptians believed the sky itself was a goddess, not arching protectively over the world, swallowing the sun at dusk and giving birth to it at dawn. To die was to travel through her, becoming part of the endless cycle of rebirth. Two historical truths lie in the glow of these painted stars. First, that Egyptians aligned tombs with celestial bodies, especially Orion and Sirius. Second, that the king's chamber within the Great Pyramid contains shafts angled precisely towards certain stars, perhaps guiding the pharaoh's spirit toward eternity. You step lightly, your fingers brushing the smooth limestone. The floor slopes more steeply now. Somewhere up ahead, you hear the faint drip of water echoing through the stone like a heartbeat from another world. When you reach the source, you find a small pool formed where condensation has gathered. Egyptians believed water was sacred. It symbolized the primordial flood from which creation itself arose. Here, a puddle becomes an echo of the world's first dawn. Beyond the pool, the passage widens into a new chamber. The air warms again, carrying the faint scent of beeswax and resin. Torches once burned here, casting light on walls covered with depictions of the pharaoh's daily life, hunting ibex, receiving tribute, watching lotus blossoms open along the Nile. These scenes were not vanity. They were memory aids, visual cues for the soul navigating the afterlife. The Egyptians believed the dead needed reminders, just as the living do. Without them, the spirit might forget who it had been and wander lost among the shadows. A painted scribe kneels before the pharaoh, offering papyrus scrolls. His face is serene, eyes lined with kohl, lips soft with devotion. One obscure cultural detail flickers through your mind. Scribes often painted themselves smaller than their masters, not out of inferiority, but humility. To serve the eternal required modesty. You step past the scribe, feeling as though you're walking through a living memory. The scenes are vivid despite their age. A slight glow from your torch brings out the blues, reds, and greens, pigments that have survived thousands of years with quiet resilience. At the far end of the chamber, a narrow door waits. Carved above it is a single symbol, an ankh, the key of life. The torchlight makes it shimmer like gold. You reach for the door, and as the stone shifts, warm air flows through the crack like a whisper from eternity. You enter, and the darkness feels welcoming, like an embrace. The passage narrows again, this time with walls so close you can feel their faint warmth against your arms. The torch's flame flickers, its glow bouncing unevenly across the hieroglyphs that spiral down the corridor like a river of symbols. The Egyptians wrote with a sense of motion, birds, snakes, reeds, all arranged in flowing currents. To them, writing was not static, it was alive. Your fingers graze a depiction of the jackal-headed god Anubis, guardian of the dead. He stands tall, holding the crook and flail, symbols of rulership and protection. His ears are alert, eyes calm, posture steady. You remember the historical reality behind the figure. Priests wearing Anubis masks performed key stages of the embalming ritual, guiding the body into purity. This was no costume. It was a role central to Egyptian belief. The priest temporarily became Anubis, ensuring the soul's safe passage. You move deeper still, and the air grows heavier with a scent of salt and linen. This is a sign you are nearing a chamber connected to embalming rites. Egyptians believed that preserving the body preserved identity. Without a body, the soul could not recognize itself in the afterlife. Two solid facts anchor this belief. Bodies were dehydrated using natron, a naturally occurring salt, and embalmers removed internal organs through precise incisions, storing them in canopic jars guarded by the four sons of Horus. A soft sound echoes, your own breath bouncing back at you from the stone. The passage finally widens into another room. Here, stone tables remain carved into the floor. Their surfaces slope slightly downward, ancient drainage channels still visible. You feel a quiet awe. So much of this process was practical, so much was spiritual. The Egyptians blended the two seamlessly, never seeing a conflict. Along one wall sits a shelf carved directly from the stone. On it, small alabaster vessels rest perfectly still, miniature versions of canopic jars. One has the head of Duat, the jackal, protector of the stomach. Another bears the face of Happy, the baboon, guardian of the lungs. Each one is delicately carved. Though empty now, you trace the rim of a jar, feeling its cool surface beneath your fingers. Near the corner of the chamber, your light catches something unexpected. A painted scene of priests wearing leopard skin cloaks. This is a rare cultural detail few notice. Leopard skins symbolized power over chaos. Wearing one meant the priest had symbolically conquered wildness. In this room devoted to preparation for eternity, the symbolism is striking. You turn back toward the center of the chamber and notice a long, narrow ramp leading upward. The angle is steep, designed to symbolize the ascent of the sun. For the Egyptians, ascending always meant becoming, moving closer to divinity, to light, to permanence. Historians still debate whether certain architectural features, like these ramps and shafts, were symbolic, functional, or both. They might have been air channels, star alignments, or spiritual pathways. The truth, buried beneath centuries of shifting sand, remains elusive. You take a step toward the ramp, feeling the weight of stone pressing gently around you. The torch casts a warm halo ahead, illuminating the rising path. Somewhere above, the burial chamber awaits. Somewhere above, the Pharaoh sleeps, still dreaming of forever. The ramp rises steeply, and the warm breath of the pyramid shifts behind you, as though the entire structure is inhaling. Your footsteps echo softly, slow, deliberate sounds swallowed almost instantly by the sheer weight of the stone around you. The incline narrows, then widens again, becoming an elongated hall. Your torchlight stretches into the darkness like a single stroke of gold. This is the Grand Gallery, an architectural wonder that defies simple explanation. The ceiling soars above you in layered steps, each stone perfectly interlocking to relieve pressure from the corridors below. Two historical truths emerge as you take it in. First, that the ancient Egyptians built this gallery using precise cobble vaulting long before similar techniques appeared in Europe. Second, that the gallery's proportions mirror celestial pathways and may represent the pharaoh's ascent toward the stars. Your footsteps become slow, almost reverent. From this vantage point, you begin to see the pyramid not as a tomb, but as a machine, an engine built to transform a mortal king into an immortal being. Every angle, every block, every detail was carved with intention. The workers who built these walls, tens of thousands of them, were not slaves, as once believed, but skilled laborers. Archaeological evidence from workers' villages shows they were fed, housed, and honored for their contribution to eternity. Light flickers along the walls, revealing tiny nooks carved at regular intervals. These once held massive wooden beams used to lift enormous stones into the chamber above. The engineering required to create this space rivaled any modern project, and all of it for one purpose: the safe passage of one soul. You run your hand along the smooth stone, feeling the intentionality behind every inch. It is said that to walk through this gallery is to walk through a cosmic lighthouse, a path that once pulsed with ritual, chanting, and the smell of incense carried by priests moving in perfect harmony. Halfway up the passage, you notice something that feels strangely alive. A faint burst of cool air drifting from above. It moves softly across your skin, carrying the scent of untouched stone and something older, darker. It's as though the pyramid is adjusting, shifting its breath around you, acknowledging your presence. At the top of the gallery, you reach a small opening leading into a horizontal passage. The space tightens, forcing you to move slowly, carefully, and then the corridor opens into a vast chamber, the first true threshold of eternity. A deep, resonant stillness fills the room. The ceiling is flat, the walls smooth, the air heavy with the scent of age. This is the antechamber, where priests once performed final rituals before placing the pharaoh in the king's chamber beyond. No ordinary person could enter this place. Only priests of the highest order, men trained in the art of separating body from soul, stepped across its threshold. You pause here, feeling the weight of their footsteps echo faintly from the past. The air is different, warmer, denser, as if saturated with centuries of whispered prayers. Your torchlight glides across the walls, revealing grooves, slats, and gears carved into the stone. This was part of an elaborate barrier system designed to seal the pharaoh inside forever. Granite portcullis blocks once slid into place, each one weighing more than a fully grown elephant. These mechanisms weren't traps, they were protections. Eternity demanded privacy. For a moment, you imagine the silence that followed the final sealing, the way the world must have held its breath as stone descended, closing the king into his eternal chamber. Outside, life continued. Inside, transformation began. You inhale deeply. The chamber beyond waits. It is time to step into the heart of eternity. You slip through the narrow passage leading from the antechamber. The air shifts, cooler, more still than anything you've felt. Your torch flame steadies, its light reflecting off walls of solid granite. And then the space opens fully, revealing the sacred core of the pyramid, the king's chamber. The room is surprisingly simple. No carvings, no paint, no ornate decorations, just enormous blocks of red granite, each weighing up to 70 tons, fitted so precisely that even the sharpest blade could not slide between them. The quiet minimalism of the chamber holds its own power, pure, deliberate, eternal. At the center stands the sarcophagus, unfinished in texture but flawless in purpose. It absorbs light rather than reflects it, its dark surface radiating a calm, ancient heat. Historical fact holds that this sarcophagus is older than the pyramid itself, carved from a single block of Aswan granite and transported hundreds of miles along the Nile. You approach it slowly. The interior is deep and wide, carved with precision. When the pharaoh was placed within, he wore layers of linen and amulets, each imbued with protective spells. The heart scarab, inscribed with spell 30 bees from the Book of the Dead, begged the heart not to betray its owner during judgment. The Jed pillar symbol provided stability. The Tayet knot ensured the protection of Isis. Everything the pharaoh carried into eternity had meaning. A faint hum vibrates through the granite beneath your feet. Scientists today debate whether this chamber was designed to resonate, whether sound played a role in the pharaoh's transformation. Some note that chanting within these walls produces deep harmonic frequencies, as if the room itself was tuned like an instrument. Historians still debate whether this was intentional or a fortunate accident of engineering. You run your hand along the smooth edge of the sarcophagus. The stone is cool, but not cold. It feels strangely alive, as if holding the memory of every ritual ever performed here. This chamber, once filled with the scent of incense, the voices of priests chanting long, slow hymns, and the soft clink of sacred tools, a world of sound and ritual now resting in perfect stillness. You look upward. 5 granite, relieving chambers lie stacked above this room, hidden from sight, designed to distribute the pyramid's unimaginable weight. Without them, this chamber would have collapsed under millions of tons of stone. Engineering and eternity worked hand in hand. For a long moment, the silence swells. Then you notice something carved faintly near the floor. An inscription left by workers, a name, a gang mark, painted in red ochre. These marks prove that humans, ordinary laborers, built this place with their own hands. Eternity required teamwork, long hours, and devotion. You step back from the sarcophagus. Something shifts in the air. A soft breath of wind, a memory passing through, and for the first time, you feel the line between the living world and the eternal world thin, like papyrus pulled taut. Behind you, the corridor waits. Ahead lies a different kind of journey, one that moves through temples, rituals, spells, and the vast architecture of the afterlife. The Pharaoh's body rests, but the Pharaoh's soul is only beginning. You leave the king's chamber quietly, as if afraid to disturb the air still humming with ancient intention. The narrow passage slopes downward, guiding you back through the pyramid's inner arteries. But as you walk, the atmosphere changes. The warmth thins, the darkness shifts, and soon you find yourself in a room far different from the others. Wider, low-ceilinged, with walls carrying the faint scent of oils and salt. This is not a chamber for kings. This is a chamber for preparation. A place where transformation began long before the pharaoh's body was carried into the pyramid. With your torch raised, the stone walls reveal shallow basins carved into the floor, smooth as if polished by thousands of hands. These were not decorative. They once held natron, crystals from dried desert lakes used to purify and dehydrate the body. A simple but powerful fact: the mummification process took 70 days, mirroring the journey of Osiris, the god of resurrection. You move deeper into the room, your footsteps soft against the stone. Along one wall sits a set of stone tables, their surfaces gently slanted. On these tables, embalmers washed and prepared the pharaoh. They were not ordinary men. They belonged to a sacred fraternity, trained for a lifetime. Their knowledge was not shared broadly. It passed from master to apprentice, guarded as fiercely as a king's secrets. You imagine this scene: priests in linen kilts, faces calm, hands steady. They worked in near silence, guided by ritual texts and the belief that the pharaoh's body was a vessel that must be preserved for eternity. Two historical truths whisper through the stillness. They removed the brain through the nostrils, using a hooked tool, and they preserved the heart inside the body, for it would be weighed in the afterlife. A faint breeze moves through the chamber, carrying the scent of ancient resins, myrrh, cedar, frankincense. These smells, once rich and sacred, now linger only in memory, barely perceptible yet strangely comforting. You approach a niche in the wall where small alabaster vessels once stood. These were the canopic jars, each guarded by one of the 4 sons of Horus. You see them now as painted carvings, Cubesinu, the falcon-headed guardian of the intestines. Happy, the baboon-headed protector of the lungs. Duamutiv, the jackal-headed defender of the stomach. Imseti, the human-headed keeper of the liver. Their faces gaze outward, serene yet powerful, each one a silent promise that the Pharaoh's inner identity, his Ka, the vital essence, would remain intact. As you study the carvings, a small detail catches your eye, a priest wearing a leopard skin cloak. This is the Sem priest, the highest officiant in funeral rituals. The leopard skin symbolized conquering chaos. Wearing order upon the body, it was believed to protect both priest and pharaoh from the formless dangers of the next world. You step back, absorbing the gentle glow of your torch across the wall. The silence is immense but not empty. It feels thick with memory, with intention, with a strange kind of warmth. You sense the devotion that once filled this space, a devotion not to death but to eternity. As you leave the chamber, your torchlight catches one last detail, a small wooden wand carved with serpents intertwined. Magical wands like this were used to draw protective circles around the body. Their presence tells you something important. Magic was not superstition in Egypt. It was a system, a discipline as real to them as engineering. The corridor beckons you forward, leading you toward the desert night and the next chapter of the Pharaoh's journey. Beyond mummification lay ceremony. Beyond ceremony lay judgment. And beyond judgment, immortality. You step outside the pyramid, and the desert greets you with a warm, velvety wind. The sky stretches endlessly above, filled with stars so bright they look etched into the blackness. The pyramids cast long shadows across the sands, their shapes sharp against the horizon, like mountains built by human will. But now, your path curves toward the temple complex, the earthly stage where the Pharaoh's passage from mortal kin to eternal deity was orchestrated. The temple looms ahead, its columns rising like the ribs of a giant stone ship. Carved onto each column are scenes of gods embracing kings, priests performing rituals, and offerings made with both hands raised high. You step into the cool shade of the hyper-style hall. The columns here are enormous, each one decorated with hieroglyphs so crisp they seem freshly carved. Sunlight filters in through slits above, painting the chamber in soft gold and shadow. Your footsteps echo faintly, swallowed by the vastness. This was the Pharaoh's house of transformation, where breath met ritual, where body met eternity. Your torchlight reveals wall scenes of priests carrying incense burners, their smoke rising in elegant spirals. The Egyptians believed incense carried prayers upward, bridging realms. Its aroma, sweet, earthy, calming, was thought to soothe the gods themselves. Two verified customs unfold around you as you study the carvings. The opening of the mouth ceremony, where priests touched the mummy's face with sacred tools to restore speech and breath. The processions, where priests recited long sequences of spells, sometimes hundreds of lines long, to ensure the soul remembered its identity. You walk toward an offering table carved with elegant simplicity. It once held bread, beer, figs, and cuts of meat, sustenance for the Pharaoh's car, which needed nourishment, even in eternity. Contrary to popular imagination, Egyptians did not expect the food itself to be consumed physically. They believed the spiritual essence of the offering was what mattered. A small bronze brazier sits to one side, still stained with soot. This is where the ritual fire burned, representing the Eye of Horus, a symbol of healing and protection. Fire and incense combined to cleanse the space, making it suitable for divine presence. As you move deeper into the hall, a long mural catches your attention. It shows the pharaoh standing before Ra, the sun god, arms lifted in greeting. Behind the king stand rows of small figures, priests, family members, and officials. You notice their postures, upright, solemn, purposeful. Everyone here had a role, even in death. An obscure but fascinating detail reveals itself in a corner of the scene. A priest sprinkling water from a vessel shaped like a lion's head. This is new water, drawn from sacred lakes and believed to represent the primordial ocean of creation. Sprinkling it purified not only the body but the entire space, restoring the world to its beginning, if only for a moment. The hall grows darker as you move inward. The scent of incense seems stronger now, layered with the faint tang of aged stone. You feel the coolness deepen, and then the murals shift in tone, no longer honoring rituals performed by the living, but depicting the journey awaiting the dead. You see the pharaoh sailing through the night on the solar bark, battling serpents of chaos. You see him pass through gates guarded by strange hybrid beings. You see him approach the hall of judgment. Each carving is a chapter of a story Egypt knew by heart, a story every pharaoh spent a lifetime preparing for. The pharaoh's body is ready. The rituals are done. Now, the soul must face the Duat, a journey not of stone, but of shadow and light. The night deepens as you leave the temple, but the darkness feels different now, denser, almost textured, like a veil drawn gently over the world. Egyptians believed that when the sun set, it wasn't simply hiding beneath the horizon. It was entering the Duat, the vast and mysterious underworld where gods traveled, monsters lurked, and the souls of kings faced their greatest trials. Tonight, you walk with the pharaoh's soul. The desert wind softens, becoming a warm whisper that curls around your ankles and guides you toward an unseen boundary. The sand shifts beneath your feet as though stirred by unseen currents, and then the landscape around you changes, not suddenly, but gradually, like a dream rearranging itself into something both familiar and impossible. The first hour of night begins. You find yourself standing on the deck of a golden boat, long, narrow, delicate, yet timeless. This is the solar bark, the vessel carrying Ra on his nightly journey. The pharaoh's soul stands near the center, watching the horizon as shadows ripple across celestial waters. Stars sparkle above, but they feel closer now, almost within reach. Egyptians believed time behaved differently here. Each hour was a realm. Each realm held guardians, gates, and challenges. To pass through them, the soul needed spells, names, and courage. Ahead, a massive gate rises from the darkness. Two towering forms, carved in the shape of serpents. Their eyes glow faintly, watching. The boat glides forward. Whispered words of power swirl through the air. Invocation spells drawn from the ancient funerary texts. The gate opens with a low hum, like stone shifting across the spine of the world. Two historical truths guide what you witness now. First, that the Duat was seen not as a place of punishment, but transformation. Dangerous, yes, but necessary. Second, that priests recited the Duat, the book of what is in the underworld, depicting each hour, each corridor, each guardian with exact detail. The boat drifts into a narrow corridor where the water grows still. On either side, carved into the banks, are figures with animal heads. Jackals, falcons, cobras, standing perfectly still. Their eyes follow your movement, glowing like embers in the dim light. Soft chanting rises behind you. The gods traveling with Ra. Among them, seer perception and Heka magic. Murmur protective spells. Their voices blend with the sound of the oars, dipping gently into the water. You feel the rhythm of eternity passing beneath the boat. Suddenly, the water trembles. A massive, shadowy shape moves just beneath the surface. Although it remains unseen, you know what lurks below. A Pep, the serpent of chaos, the eternal enemy of Ra. Every night, a Pep tries to swallow the sun. Every night, the gods fight to ensure dawn comes again. You hear rumbling from beneath the boat. The deck vibrates. For a moment, the entire Duat holds its breath. And then, the tremor passes. The boat pushes forward. A Pep withdraws, temporarily defeated. The Pharaoh's soul has survived the first great danger. But 11 more hours lie ahead. The journey has only begun. The second and third hours unfold in slow hypnotic waves. The boat glides through winding pathways lit by torchlight that seems to come from nowhere. Shadows crawl along the walls, taking the shape of ancient guardians, some welcoming, others watchful, all powerful. One carved figure catches your eye, a god holding a long knife shaped like a serpent. This is Sokar, Lord of Darkness and Rebirth. In this hour, the solar bark must pass through his territory, an immense cavern known as the Realm of Hidden Forms. You step off the boat and onto solid ground. The cavern is vast, stretching out in all directions. The ceiling glitters with golden stars painted across black stone, forming a cosmic dome above your head. Beneath your feet, the ground resembles rippling sand, though it feels firm as polished granite. As you walk, you notice strange, beautiful machines carved into the walls, huge, spiraling shapes like wings unfurling, serpents coiling through gears of stone. Egyptians imagined the Duat as both natural and mechanical, a place where creation and engineering intertwined. Some scholars believe these designs symbolized the cosmic machinery that powered time itself. Your torchlight reveals a low stone platform in the center of the cavern. Upon it lies a painted figure of Ra, shown as a mummified man with a ram's head. This form, Rakatum, represents the sun at its weakest, vulnerable yet filled with potential. Around the platform, Dozens of deities stand in silent vigilance. Their faces are calm, their hands holding knives, staffs, or ankhs. They do not move, they do not blink, but you sense their presence, warm and watchful. You notice something unusual near the far wall, a narrow tunnel marked with a feather symbol. This is the feather of Ma'at, representing truth and balance. Souls were expected to travel straight, without deviation, through this passage. To step off the path symbolized corruption. Here, symbolism and geography merged. As you guide the Pharaoh's soul onward, the tunnel widens, opening into the fourth hour, where the boat meets you again. The air here glows faintly with a soft reddish light like embers beneath sand. This is the hour where the sun begins its regeneration, slowly gathering strength for the battles ahead. Two verified details color this moment. Egyptians believed the sun aged as it traveled through the day and became young again only after surviving the Duat. The fourth hour symbolized this turning point, a quiet rebirth before the chaos to come. The boat moves through a lake of fire, not a lake that burns, but one that protects. In Egyptian belief, fire was not only destruction, it was purification, a shield against the creatures of darkness. Souls traveling here were warmed, not consumed. You watch the flames dance like ribbons on the surface, illuminating faces of the gods who guide the Pharaoh. The lake casts shadows along the walls, making everything feel alive. A soft wind rises, stirring the warmth around you. The gods step forward. The journey continues. Ahead lies the fifth hour, where time coils back on itself, and the Pharaoh must face echoes of his own life, where the living world and the eternal world briefly touch. The Duat deepens, and the Pharaoh walks further into forever. The air shifts as you enter the fifth hour of the Duat, and the warmth of the fiery lake fades into a cool, shadowed stillness. Here the path narrows, twisting between massive walls of polished black stone. The surface reflects your torchlight dimly, as though capturing memories rather than images. Egyptians believed that this hour held the echoes of a person's Ren, their name, the core of their identity. Without a name, the soul could not be remembered. Without remembrance, it could not live. The Pharaoh soul steps beside you now, moving quietly. No footsteps echo. Souls walk differently here, lightly, as though drifting between moments rather than moving through space. The walls whisper faintly, murmuring fragments of the Pharaoh's life, victories at court, prayers at temples, moments of compassion, moments of pride. Egyptians believed the Duat required honesty. A soul could not hide from itself. Along the path, you see figures carved into the stone, scribes with reed pens, gods holding scrolls, messengers with open palms. These are the keepers of the records, divine archivists who preserved every deed, good or bad. Two historical truths illuminate their presence. First, Egyptians believed the gods wrote down every action in life. Second, the written record was considered as real as the act itself. Paper and memory weighed equally. Your torchlight reveals a strange sight up ahead. A cluster of floating lights hovering in the darkness like fireflies suspended in amber. As you draw closer, they resolve into glowing spheres, each one containing a small scene from the Pharaoh's past. Some show moments of kindness, others reveal moments of anger or fear. The Pharaoh pauses, watching as one sphere opens to show him standing beside the Nile as a young prince, releasing a captured ibis back into the water. Egyptians deeply respected the ibis. It was associated with Thoth, god of wisdom. A kind act towards such a creature held meaning. The scene fades. Another sphere glows, showing the pharaoh in council, mediating a dispute between farmers over irrigation rights. The Egyptians saw justice not as a punishment, but as alignment with Ma'at, the natural order. A pharaoh's duty was to maintain balance, not rule with cruelty. Yet another sphere opens, showing the pharaoh ignoring a beggar's plea. The light dims, casting a faint chill across the corridor. The Duat remembers everything. You continue forward, and the path broadens into a chamber filled with dozens of small boats, far smaller than the solar bark, made of gold and faience. They float upon a calm, shimmering pool whose surface glows with soft emerald light. This place represents the waters of rebirth, where the soul regains parts of itself lost through time. An obscure but fascinating detail adorns the wall, tiny carvings of frogs and lotus blossoms. Egyptians believed the frog symbolized spontaneous creation, while the lotus represented the moment the sun rose from the primordial water. Here, the pharaoh symbolically reclaims his potential for rebirth. The soul steps into one of the small boats. You follow, and the vessel glides silently across the pool. The water is warm, soothing, almost maternal, and its glow illuminates the chamber in soft waves. The walls look like sheets of gold folded carefully into place. As the boat reaches the far side, the pool's glow fades behind you, replaced by a steady, rhythmic pulse. You step into the 6th hour, the deepest part of the night, and the realm opens into a cavern where time feels heavy. The silence here is thick, sacred. This is the hour of the hidden body of Osiris, the god who died and rose again. The pharaoh must confront the essence of death, not as an ending, but as a doorway. Before you lie dozens of mummiform statues, slender, wrapped forms carved from black basalt, each one identical. They stand like a silent army, facing the same direction, waiting for resurrection. The pharaoh's soul walks among them with reverence. Egyptians believe that Osiris's fragmented body was hidden in the Duat, and Ra's nightly task, joined by the pharaoh, was to restore him. In this symbolic act, the glow of eternal life renewed itself. You feel a gentle warmth fill the cavern. Somewhere in the darkness, a heartbeat stirs, and the night prepares to turn. The heartbeat intensifies, slow, rhythmic, steady. It doesn't come from a single source, but from the stone itself, pulsing through the floor, the walls, even the air around you. This is the 7th hour, the hour of confrontation. The pharaoh's soul has regained identity, memory, and clarity. Now it must face the greatest threat, in the Duat, the raw force of chaos. The cavern opens into a massive, circular hall filled with pillars shaped like serpent coils. Flames burn at the tops of each pillar, casting moving shadows that twist across the walls. In the center lies a long, sinuous trough, dark, glistening, too wide to step across. The air hums with energy. A deep growl rises from the trough. A pep returns. The great serpent, larger now, monstrous, shimmering with shadow, slithers upward, its massive head towering above the cavern floor. Egyptians believed Apep tried every night to stop the sun's rebirth. If Apep ever succeeded, dawn would never come again. The world would sink into eternal darkness. Your torch flickers violently. The Pharaoh's soul steps forward, unafraid. The gods gather at his sides, some with blades, others with spells woven like threads of light. Two verified details guide this moment. Priests on earth perform nightly rituals to assist Ra in defeating Apep, using knives and fire to symbolically attack the serpent. The banishing spells recited during this hour were among the longest and most powerful in Egyptian literature. Apep lunges. The pillars tremble. The flames bend sideways as if pushed by a storm. The gods strike as one, their weapons glowing like molten gold. The Pharaoh recites spells, ancient words vibrating into the air. The serpent thrashes, its body crashing against the cavern walls. A shockwave ripples through the Duat. Your heart skips, your breath catches, then something changes. A light bursts from the cavern's ceiling, not harsh, but warm and golden, like dawn distilled into a single beam. It flows downward, wrapping around the serpent, forcing it back, unraveling its shadowy form until it collapses with a final shudder into the trough. The cavern stills, the heartbeat slows. The gods bow their heads. The Pharaoh's soul has passed the most dangerous trial. As the cavern fades behind you, the path ahead glows with a soft violet light. This leads into the 8th hour, a realm of restoration. The walls here are painted with images of Ra merging with Osiris, a symbolic union of rejuvenation. Egyptians believed that the sun and the god of resurrection strengthened each other through this merging. The air becomes warm again. The stone beneath your feet vibrates gently like a cat's purr. You feel time loosening, stretching, preparing to turn toward dawn. An obscure detail lies painted along the wall. Tiny inverted faces with closed eyes. These represent the sleep ones, souls who rest during the transformations of the Duat and must be awakened when time restores itself. They are reminders that even in the realm of death, sleep is sacred. The corridor widens into a chamber filled with soft, glowing light. Statues of gods with falcon heads, ram heads, and human faces stand on either side, each holding an ankh, the key of life. The Pharaoh's soul walks between them, and each statue glows faintly as he passes. A sense of peace settles over the space. Transformation is nearly complete. Ahead lies judgment, not punishment, but truth, and from truth will come eternity. The warm glow surrounding you deepens into a soft amber radiance as you step into the ninth hour of the Duat, a realm the Egyptians imagined as a place of quiet restoration. The cavern opens into a long hall, framed with immense statues, whose faces are serene and youthful, as though carved from dawn itself. This hour symbolically marks the rejuvenation of the sun, the gathering of strength after the long battles of night. The Pharaoh's soul walks with steadier light now. Each step seems to leave a faint trail of gold that lingers for a heartbeat before fading into the stone. Along the walls, your torch illuminates images of gods pouring water from tall jars, the streams forming the hieroglyph for life. These are the divine waters that renew existence, the same waters used in temples on earth to purify statues, priests, and sacred spaces. Egyptians believed purity wasn't simply cleanliness, it was alignment with the cosmic order, Ma, the balance that sustained all things. Two historical facts linger in the glow of this hour. First, Egyptian purification involved both literal water and symbolic washing with incense smoke. Second, priests often used water drawn from lakes called Sen's sacred reservoirs, reflecting the heavens. You hear a soft trickling sound nearby, a waterfall hidden behind a veil of stone. Its echo mingles with the gentle heartbeat of the Duat. The Pharaoh pauses, bathing in this unseen cascade of light and sound. The renewal is not physical but spiritual, a cleansing of memory, a strengthening of identity, a rekindling of purpose. Ahead, the corridor narrows again. You follow the Pharaoh's soul into a passage lined with painted guardians, winged serpents, crouching lions, falcon-headed sentries. They do not move, they do not speak, but their presence is palpable, protecting, guiding, watching with eternal vigilance. Your torch reveals a row of unusual symbols along the floor. Tiny, delicate feathers painted in pale blue. These feathers represent Ma'at, the principle of truth that governs the entire universe. Everything in Egypt revolved around this idea that truth and balance were as real as stone. Step by step, you approach a set of massive golden doors etched with a single image. A feather, a heart, a scale. You've reached the threshold of the Hall of Two Truths, where the heart of the Pharaoh will be weighed. The doors open without sound, revealing a chamber vast enough to swallow the stars. The walls shimmer with gold leaf, reflecting your torch in warm, rippling waves. Tall columns rise like reeds from the floor, each carved with symbols of judgment and order. At the center stands a great stone scale, its arms perfectly balanced, suspended in stillness. One side awaits the Pharaoh's heart, the other the feather of Ma'at. A gentle breeze, impossible in an enclosed space, moves through the chamber, lifting the edges of your cloak. The examination of truth awaits, for even a king must stand naked before eternity. The Hall of Two Truths glows with a quiet, omnipresent light, as though dawn itself has settled inside the stone. Statues of gods stand in a wide semicircle around the central scale, solemn, watchful, impossibly graceful. Every god present here plays a role in the ultimate test of the soul. At the forefront stands Anubis, jackal-headed god of mummification and protector of the dead. His black fur glistens as though carved from polished obsidian. In his hands, he holds the pharaoh's heart, carefully preserved, wrapped in linen, still pulsing with symbolic life. Egyptians believed the heart, not the brain, was the seat of identity, memory, and morality. Beside the scale stands Maat herself, goddess of truth and balance. Her feather, pure, white, delicate, rests on one side of the scale. The feather is not heavy, not weighted. Its power is symbolic. Only a heart free of imbalance can match it. Two historical truths guide the ceremony unfolding before you. Egyptians believed the heart recorded every deed, thought, and intention. There was no deception possible here. The gods could read truth the way scribes read ink. At the far end of the chamber, sitting upon a throne of gold and lapis lazuli, waits Osiris, lord of the afterlife. He is wrapped in tight linen, his skin painted green, the color of rebirth. His crook and flail rest crossed upon his chest. Behind him rise tall papyrus reeds painted across the wall, symbolizing the lush fields of the next world. To his right stands Thoth, the ibis-headed god of writing and wisdom. He holds a long scroll and a stylus, ready to record the outcome of the weighing. No verdict is complete until Thoth writes it, and to Osiris's left lurks Amit, the devourer of souls, part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus. She crouches low, her massive jaws slightly open. She is not evil, merely inevitable. A heart heavier than truth will be her feast. Any soul devoured by Amit suffers the second death, a fate Egyptians feared more than any physical pain. The pharaoh's soul steps forward, trembling faintly, not with fear, but with the enormity of the moment. Anubis gently places the heart on the empty side of the scale. The chamber falls utterly silent. Your torch dims as if in reverence. The scale trembles, then steadies. A soft breath of air moves across your cheeks. The feather shifts slightly. For a moment, an eternal moment, the balance hangs in perfect tension. A memory flashes across the chamber, projected by the heart's essence. A young pharaoh listening to his mother's teachings, learning about Ma'at, learning that rulership without justice is a form of death. The scale steadies, then gently, slowly, gracefully, it balances. The chamber exhales, light brightens. Thoth writes swiftly, his stylus gliding across the scroll. Osiris inclines his head in acknowledgement. Amit sinks back, disappointed but respectful, and the pharaoh's soul glows with a warm, expanding light. Egyptians believed that a balanced heart meant the soul could pass freely into the afterlife, not as a wanderer, but as a justified spirit, Makeru, true of voice. The path beyond the hall opens before you, a long corridor filled with soft green light, like the first glow of morning over the Nile. The pharaoh has passed the test. Now the journey enters its gentlest and most beautiful phase, the crossing into the field of reeds, paradise of eternal life. A soft, emerald glow spreads across the corridor ahead, warm and impossibly gentle, like dawn rising behind a curtain of reeds. You follow the Pharaoh's soul toward it, feeling the shift in the air as the heavy stone solemnity of the Hall of Two Truths fades behind you. The air becomes warm, full of quiet life, carrying the scent of water lilies and fresh-cut papyrus. For the first time since entering the dew, the atmosphere feels open. You step through the threshold and the world blossoms into view. This is the field of reeds, Aru, the eternal paradise promised to every soul who lived a life balanced in truth. But paradise, to the Egyptians, was not clouds or distant heavens. It was a perfected Egypt, a mirror of home, but without hunger, without illness, without fear. The Nile runs wide and gentle here, its surface shining like polished turquoise under a golden, endless sunrise. The Pharaoh's soul stands beside you, watching the river drift peacefully along fields of tall, shimmering reeds. The land stretches far beyond the horizon, green and abundant. Date palms sway in warm breezes, their leaves whispering like soft breath. The sky glows with soft gold and pale blue, never darkening, never tiring. Time itself seems to have exhaled, relaxed and settled. Two historical truths bloom quietly in this moment. First, Egyptians believed the afterlife was agricultural, fields to harvest, land to walk, rivers to sail. Second, work here was joyful, not burdensome. It preserved identity, purpose, and dignity. You watch as distant figures tend to crops. They move easily, smiling, their bodies young and strong. Perhaps they were farmers in life, perhaps craftspeople or scribes. Here they continue what they loved, but without exhaustion. The crops ripen overnight. The water remains sweet. The sun warms, but never scorches. On the river, boats glide gracefully. Slender wooden vessels painted with lotus flowers and long sweeping oars. Souls travel these waters not out of necessity, but for pleasure. Sailing was joy, and joy carried into eternity. You notice a small boat drawing near your bank. A woman stands at the bow, her linen dress caught in a gentle breeze. Her eyes widen, then soften with recognition. This is the Pharaoh's mother. Egyptians believed that reunion was one of the greatest blessings of the afterlife. Families restored, friendships renewed. No social boundaries, no distance of status. In the field of reeds, every soul stands equal before eternity. The Pharaoh steps forward, emotion glowing gently around him. Not a dramatic outpouring, but a subtle warmth. Egyptians valued composure, even in paradise. But the love here is unmistakable. Mother and child embrace with the same quiet reverence they showed the gods. Behind her, more figures arrive. Advisors, friends, servants, teachers, those who shaped the Pharaoh's life. They greet him not with bowed heads, but with joyful familiarity. Titles fall away. What remains is connection. An obscure but beautiful detail emerges. Some souls carry fishing nets, their weights shaped like little frogs. Egyptians believed fishing in the afterlife was symbolic, catching not animals, but moments, memories, experiences. Each cast of the net retrieved something meaningful from the waters of eternity. The Pharaoh laughs softly, perhaps for the first time since his journey began. It's a gentle sound, like the rustle of reeds in wind. His soul feels lighter, brighter. You wander with him along a path that winds through tall grass. Birds circle overhead. Ibises, herons, lapwings, all messengers of the gods. Their calls echo softly, harmonious and serene. A breeze brushes your cheek. You inhale the warm, sweet air. It smells like honey and river clay. Every sense here is heightened but peaceful, like a memory polished by time. The Pharaoh's soul, now fully renewed, looks toward the horizon where the sun never sets. The road ahead leads deeper into the eternal fields, toward purpose, toward joy, toward the gentle continuation of everything he once loved. But one final task remains. The Pharaoh must assume his eternal kingship, not over subjects, but over balance itself. Ahead, a faint golden glow rises, brighter than the fields, steadier than the sun. It is the presence of the gods, awaiting the newly justified soul. The glow intensifies as you walk, shifting from warm gold to a soft, shimmering white. The tall reeds part effortlessly before you, bending like respectful attendants. The Pharaoh's soul walks with renewed strength, each step steady and quiet. The air grows still, thickening with a sacred calm, as though even the wind holds its breath in reverence. Ahead lies a grand pavilion, not built of stone or wood, but woven from light itself. Its columns shimmer like pale gold wrapped in linen, and its roof seems formed of the morning sky. This is the hall of eternity, where justified souls receive their eternal roles. The Pharaoh pauses before entering. His linen garments now glow with subtle radiance, and a faint crown of light rests above his head. In life, he ruled Egypt. In eternity, he becomes part of the cosmic order. Inside the pavilion, gods gather in a semicircle, smiling, serene, welcoming. You recognize them instantly from temple walls and ancient texts. Isis, with her throne-shaped crown, radiates gentle protection. Horus, falcon-headed, stands tall with wings folded neatly behind him. Hathor, cow-horned and luminous, radiates love and joy. Even Ptah, the creator god, stands quietly with his straight beard and wrapped form. Two historical truths soften the moment. First, that Egyptians believed gods were not distant, they were present, loving, and intimately involved in human destiny. Second, that the Pharaoh became the god Osiris in death, while the living heir became Horus, continuing the eternal cycle. Osiris steps forward, his green skin glowing softly. He lifts a hand, and the pavilion brightens. His voice, when he speaks, sounds like dozens of soft waves breaking along the Nile shore. Welcome, justified one. True of voice, restored of heart. The Pharaoh bows, not in submission, but in respect for the order of the cosmos. Osiris places his hands upon the Pharaoh's shoulders, and an emerald glow flows between them. This is the moment of transformation. The Pharaoh becomes an ark, a transfigured spirit capable of moving freely between realms. The pavilion fills with warm wind, lifting your cloak and sending gentle ripples across the air. The gods chant together, their voices weaving a sound more felt than heard. It vibrates in your chest, calming, ancient, steady. You notice a series of small altars arranged in a circle, each containing symbolic offerings. Loaves of bread shaped like feathers, small blue fiance amulets, lotus blossoms carved from alabaster, a miniature solar bark. These offerings represent eternity's gifts, strength, clarity, rebirth, and the ability to travel between realms. An obscure but compelling detail catches your eye. A small, wooden circumscepter, a symbol of might in the afterlife. Power was not dominance, it was harmony, the ability to maintain balance with grace. The Pharaoh steps toward a large open balcony overlooking the field of reeds. From here, he will oversee the flow of Magade, guiding equilibrium between the worlds, ensuring cycles remain unbroken. Below the balcony, the eternal Nile branches into dozens of glittering channels, each one flowing through green fields and golden groves. Souls stroll beside the water, laughing softly, working joyfully, living in a world perfected by balance. As Osiris places a gentle hand on the Pharaoh's back, a warm breeze circles the pavilion, soft, fragrant, full of ancient reassurance. The Pharaoh has completed his journey. He has become eternal. He has become a guardian of harmony, and the night prepares to shift toward dawn. Time in the field of reeds does not pass the way it does in the waking world. It stretches, softens, folds into itself like the slow drift of lotus petals on the Nile. You walk beside the Pharaoh's soul, along a narrow path bordered by tall, rippling grass. The warmth of the eternal sunrise paints everything in hues of gold and pale green, giving the landscape a quiet, dream-like glow. Life here is familiar, yet perfected. Souls move through the fields with gentle purpose, some harvesting grain that grows taller than a man, its stalks bending with effortless abundance, others shaping clay jars beside cool streams, others guiding boats along canals that weave through groves of fig trees and date palms. Egyptians believed paradise should mirror the best of life, not replace it. It was a continuation, not an escape. You walk past a family fishing from the riverbank, their nets glimmering with blue beads shaped like protective amulets. When they cast their nets, they laugh softly. No urgency, no hunger, only joy. Two historical truths drift through this calm scene. First, Egyptians believed fishing in the afterlife symbolized catching blessings, a metaphor for gathering experiences, wisdom, and connection. Second, the field of reeds was imagined as a place where crops grew at impossible speeds. Harvests were daily gifts, not seasonal labors. The Pharaoh watches all this with serene wonder. Though he ruled a kingdom of millions, he is now simply another joyful soul in an equal realm. Eternity begins without hierarchy. Status dissolves into harmony, but he carries his new role with grace. A faint radiance surrounds him, soft, steady, like sunlight diffused through linen. Souls greet him warmly as he passes, offering lotus flowers or fresh loaves as gestures of affection, not submission. You notice a small cottage near the water's edge. Its walls are made of pale stone, its garden full of herbs, mint, coriander, chamomile. The door stands open. Inside, a woman shapes bread with delicate hands. The Pharaoh pauses, recognizing her. It is his grandmother, gone from the mortal world decades before. She welcomes him without words, and he bows his head with gentle emotion. In the afterlife, reunion happens not with tears, but with relief, as though time itself sighs with gratitude. You leave them together and wander toward a small stone temple situated on a hill overlooking the river. Its pillars are shaped like clustered papyrus stalks, each one painted with vibrant blues and greens. Inside the temple, transparent figures, priests of eternity, perform rituals that echo the ceremonies once held along the Nile. Incense swirls upward, forming shapes that resemble wings, coils, and spirals. An obscure detail catches your attention. A priest pours milk into a bowl carved with images of calves and stars. This ritual, called the offering of the white drink, symbolized nurturing the newly reborn soul. Every element of paradise carries meaning here. You step back outside, breathing in the warm air. The Pharaoh joins you once more, now fully radiant, his presence tranquil and assured. He gestures towards a distant horizon where the light shifts from gold to a deeper, richer amber. There lies the entrance to the celestial Duat, the realm above, where justified spirits travel to visit the gods or guide the living. Eternity isn't a static existence. It is a movement, a cycle, a gentle interplay between realms. And now, the Pharaoh's soul is ready for more than paradise. It is ready to walk the heavens. A cool breeze rises as you ascend the gentle slope leading toward the celestial Duat. The light changes from warm gold to shimmering white blue, as if you're walking into the sky itself. The air grows lighter, carrying a faint hum that vibrates softly in your chest. It feels like the beginning of a hymn, or perhaps the echo of one remembered long ago. You reach a high ridge overlooking the eternal Nile. Below, the field of reeds glows peacefully, dotted with souls tending their joyful tasks. Above, the sky opens into a vast, luminous expanse. A faint pathway, woven from stars, stretches into the heights. This is the road the Pharaoh now walks, the starry way, the path of the transfigured soul. Egyptians believed that justified spirits could rise into the heavens, becoming imperishable stars, called Ikemu, Sek, they, undying ones. From this vantage point, you see these stars now, bright, unwavering, arranged in patterns the Egyptians knew by heart. Orion, home of Osiris; Sirius, home of Isis. The circumpolar stars that never set, symbolizing eternal life. Two historical truths shimmer around you. First, the shafts in the Great Pyramid align precisely with these constellations, gateways for the Pharaoh spirit. Second, funerary texts describe the Pharaoh ascending on a ladder of light, guided by gods with outstretched hands. You take your first step onto the starry way. The ground beneath you is neither solid nor air. It feels like walking across woven light. Ahead, gentle figures approach, souls of previous pharaohs, shining softly in robes that seem made of morning frost. They greet the new pharaoh with quiet nods, forming a constellation of living memory. Here, time folds. Ancient kings who ruled centuries apart stand shoulder to shoulder, not as rivals, but as guardians of cosmic balance. An obscure but enchanting detail drifts into view. Among these luminous figures move tiny lights shaped like birds, bar souls that can fly freely between worlds. Egyptians believed each bar carried a spark of personality, able to visit the living in dreams, guide the lost, and gather wisdom from the stars. The pharaoh turns to you, his eyes brighter than before. He raises his hand toward the heavens. The starry way stretches endlessly, yet not aimlessly. It spirals gently towards a celestial palace, glowing with shimmering sandstone tones, the cosmic court of Ra. At the palace gates, lions made of stars sit in silent vigilance. Their forms shift like constellations rearranging, always guarding, always watching. Inside the palace, the gods stand waiting, no longer in judgment, but in welcome. Ra himself sits at the center, luminous, regal, warm as the sun at dawn. His voice fills the chamber like light itself, calm, powerful, eternal. Join us, justified one, steward of Ma, a keeper of harmony. The pharaoh steps forward. The gods extend their hands, touching him lightly with beams of gold. In that moment, a transformation unfolds quietly, without spectacle. The pharaoh becomes a divine guide, a steward of cosmic cycles, a force of stability, threaded gently through eternity. From now on, he will help guide the rising of the sun, the flow of the Nile, the balance of order in both worlds. The gods smile, the palace softens, the stars hum gently, and from this celestial vantage, the eternal cycle continues, unbroken and serene. The celestial palace glows with a soft radiance that feels less like light and more like a kind of warmth that seeps gently into your bones. You walk with the pharaoh through vast halls made of shimmering gold dust stone, where the air hums faintly with the music of constellations drifting across the sky. Here, sound is gentle, movement slow, and time unwinds like a ribbon floating on water. The pharaoh's presence glows brighter as he stands among the gods. His form is steady, serene, wrapped in garments that appear woven from sunlight. Each thread carries a faint shimmer, like tiny stars, held in place with breath alone. He is no longer merely a soul. He is a force, a thread in the cosmic loom. From the high balcony of the celestial court, you can see the layers of the universe stretching out below and above. The field of reeds, peaceful and green. The Duat, vast and shadowed, still humming with its eternal cycles. The mortal world, shimmering faintly like a reflection in shallow water, and the endless sky, scattered with undying stars. Two historical truths breathe through this moment. First, that Egyptians believed the pharaoh's death renewed the cosmos, strengthening the connection between heaven and earth. Second, that the king became one with both Osiris' rebirth and Ra's solar power, embodying death and life simultaneously. You watch as the pharaoh takes his place among the stars. Literally, his form rises slowly, gently, carried on beams of gold cast upward by Ra's extended hand. His body dissolves into points of light, scattering across the sky before forming a single glowing presence among the circumpolar stars. These stars never set, they never fall, they never fade. To Egyptians, this meant eternal vigilance, eternal life. As the pharaoh settles into his new place, a soft voice echoes through the celestial expanse, calm as a breeze through papyrus reeds. It is not spoken aloud, yet you hear it clearly. I watch, I guide, I renew. You feel the truth of those words ripple through the heavens. The pharaoh's spirit stretches thin and wide, touching the mortal world with a subtle warmth. Egyptians believed kings guided their people through dreams, omens, and the quiet alignment of natural forces. Rainfall, flood levels, harvests, all were tied to cosmic harmony. A faint glow on the horizon signals the approach of dawn, not in the mortal world, but in the cosmic sense. Ra prepares to rise again, his solar bark shimmering with renewed power. The gods gather at the palace gates. The pharaoh moves beside them, his form now radiant as a newborn star. Together, they begin the slow journey toward the eastern horizon. The palace dissolves behind them into drifting gold, and the vast celestial expanse shifts from soft twilight to warm amber. You walk with them, feeling the gentle pull of dawn. The sky itself seems to inhale, gathering the first breath of morning. The pharaoh's star glows brighter, watching over all realms as the cycle prepares to begin once more. Eternity is not stillness, it is motion, a movement so soft and steady it feels like peace. Ahead, the horizon brightens, the final hour approaches, and the eternal story prepares to fold itself into light. The sky warms slowly, like a breath spreading through the quiet of the universe. Pale gold deepens into honey, then softens into a gentle white glow that touches everything with the calm, steady certainty of dawn. You stand at the edge of the celestial horizon, watching as the gods step into the solar bark, their forms lit from within. The pharaoh's star settles just above the vessel, shining with a soft, reassuring glow. The journey toward morning begins, not with haste, but with the same patient rhythm that guides the turning of seasons. The boat glides over a calm, endless sea of light. The waves roll slowly, each one a soft rise and fall that seems to cradle the world in quiet assurance. The steady motion loosens the last threads of tension inside you, unraveling them gently like strands of linen brushed smooth by careful hands. The warmth of the rising sun washes across the bark, a comforting glow that wraps around you like a soft blanket laid over tired shoulders. The hum of the heavens settles into a low, steady pulse, slow enough to soothe the breath, steady enough to anchor the mind. You let your eyes drift along the horizon, where the gold blends into pale blue, where the darkness fades without struggle, where the first hint of day takes shape almost imperceptibly. Below, The field of reeds glimmers, peaceful and eternal. The tall grasses sway with the calm rhythm of a world untouched by hurry. The rivers drift like long silk ribbons, carrying reflections of palm crowns and distant, gentle light. Souls walk slowly along the water's edge, their forms softened by the warmth, their steps unhurried, guided by a peaceful purpose that asks for nothing but presence. The air carries faint scents, lotus, sweet water, sun-warmed stone, each one soft, familiar, easing the mind into a more restful quiet. Above, the Pharaoh star glows with a gentle steadiness, its light a constant reassurance. His journey, full of trials, transformation, and wonder, has reached its calm continuation. He watches not with the weight of duty, but with the ease of harmony, an equilibrium so perfect it radiates outward into every corner of the universe. His presence feels like a hand resting on the world, neither heavy nor commanding, simply there, steady, balanced. Ra's bark continues its glide. The sky brightens just enough to blur the line between light and warmth. The breeze, light as linen, passes over you with a softness that feels like being held. The world narrows into simple sensations, the slow rise of breath, the gentle hum of the cosmos, the steady glow of the horizon opening inch by inch. Everything else fades quietly into the background, dissolving into a gentle fog of calm. You breathe slowly, following the long, effortless rhythm of the bark as it drifts toward dawn. The sun begins its ascent, quiet, graceful, inevitable. Its rays stretch outward, touching the edge of the field of reeds, then the mortal world, then the distant, shimmering stars. A soft warmth settles into your chest, deep and steady, grounding you in the quiet certainty of this eternal cycle. Night becomes morning, darkness becomes light, and everything settles into its rightful place, balanced, gentle, whole. Let the warmth hold you. Let the sky soften around you. Let the world drift into stillness as the Pharaoh's journey settles into eternity. And now, it is your turn to rest. Your breath slow, your body soft, your mind quiet. The cycle continues. The world waits for nothing. You are safe. You are held. You are drifting into the calm of forever.